My mom was always very active in race unity work. And she, from the time I was born, I remember her talking about, how important it was to eliminate her prejudices and our prejudices. And when we moved to the city, we lived in the country most of our childhood, but when we moved to the city, she intentionally put us into a very diverse neighborhood.
Awesome.
And as a result, my oldest brother is married to a full-blood Nez Perce, Nimi Poo, Native American. I'm married to a black woman. And my younger brother is married, soon to be divorced, to a woman who is black and Jewish and Puerto Rican.
Wow.
So, we've all had a lot of experience with people of color in our lives. And yet, I personally find myself with prejudices that just sort of pop up in my brain without me even realizing it.
Sure.
And being surprised by some of the experience that my wife has. For example, we were stopped by a state trooper on a back road one time several months ago because I had a tail light out. And I was driving, and we opened my wife's window, and the police was very courteous and, wasn't confrontative at all. But when we got home, she told me how scared she was. Just having, a law authority standing that close to her with a flashlight, and that was because she grew up in the city in Southern California, and that was her experience. And that event particularly caused me to have to really think very carefully about how I speak, how I interact with people, and to be very aware of my privilege as a white person, and the importance of really making an effort to stay respectful and to listen to the experience of people of color.
So what I'm hearing is your life is immersed with contact with all kinds of people, including people of color. A lot of groups that are traditionally discriminated against.
Mm-hmm.
And you were raised to not have prejudice, if at all possible, to be fair, but you still find yourself feeling feelings of prejudice. That is, I do too. I can relate.
Mm-hmm.
And that is absolutely amazing. Because what that says to me is that we're hardwired to be worriers. That's what I get out of it. Mm-hmm. So even if your head knows that prejudice is wrong, you still have to be mindful. You still have to police yourself. So what kinds of things do you find difficult? Or when does it crop up? And what does it make you feel?
Well, it usually crops up in the silence. Fortunately, I haven't, had any experiences where I've been offensive. Thankfully.
Good.
I'll find prejudices just coming into my brain on occasion, and I think that a big reason for it is that our very culture is just immersed, flooded with the sense that white people are superior, and
yeah.
Even if you're consciously raised in an atmosphere that tries to eliminate prejudice, those thoughts still get into you. There's sort of the lizard brain theory where they get into the lizard brain where there's no consciousness.
Exactly. It's an automatic reaction, I think, tied into our trying to stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that we're not really in any danger. So here we are, you and I, two people who are definitely for equality, who still struggle with this. So what would you like other white people to know who don't have the benefit of your experience? When they feel prejudice, what do you do when you feel prejudice and you realize it?
I sort of laugh at myself. Well, that was a dumb thought. There's no reality behind that. It depends on what level the person's on. But the first thing I would say to any white person is listen.
Yeah.
And know that the experience of a person of color is real and true. And if they tell you they feel a certain way, take their word for it.
Right.
Because you have no idea as a white person, unless you were raised in that environment, you have no idea what they've experienced as minority people, in a predominantly white culture. And listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because, listening and acknowledging is one of the greatest ways for healing.
Sure. So to all the white viewers out there, so if you find yourself feeling prejudiced against a person of color, it doesn't mean that you have to embrace that thought. You can acknowledge that you felt it, realize that you have no use for it, and stay open